Out fun, so that's a little bit of a trick here. We'll be learning about it. You've already learned about fundamental theorem of algebra, but we're going to continue exploring it. So for the first one, it says analyze each graph, identify x-intercepts if possible. So let's look at graph 1 here, this g of x. Where are my x-intercepts here? Yes.
0, 2, 0,
Good. Very awesome. So label that. I have 2, 0. And I have negative 2, 0. These are my x-intercepts. Label that so that you know. That's huge. You'll have to be able to identify x-intercepts on the exam. Okay? And Nicole told me that it was 2, 0 and negative 2, 0.
That's it.
That's it. Okay? Now, I want you to do h of x right here. I will tell you it goes by 2. So, like this guy is 2. This guy is 2. This one's negative 6. Okay, so be careful. It's going by 2s. It kind of tricked people up last period. All right.
What do you mean it's going by?
Like it's going by 2s. It goes 0, 2, 4, 6, 8.
Oh.
Yeah. Good question. So give it a shot. Okay. Mark that down. Okay. Who wants to give me 1? Go ahead, Sam.
Would 1 be negative 6, 0?
It would be very good. If you're getting this, I am super happy. You don't understand. I get really excited when you're getting math.
The next one's 0, 0.
Good. This is your x-intercept too. Awesome. So both of these had how many x-intercepts? 2.
There's actually a y-intercept.
There is, but we didn't want to look at that yet. That is good to know, though. So let's talk about that for a second, because we did struggle a little bit with that. What's my y-intercept of g of x?
Wait, what'd you say?
What's my y-intercept?
0.
Good. The only thing is, when we're talking about y, your y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 4. It's always how much did you go left, right? Well, I didn't move at all left or right, but I went down 4. Okay, that's important too. All right. I'm going to do the first one here, and then you do the second one. Let's talk about m of x here. It is negative 3, 0. So I only have 1. I have 1 intercept. Do n of x. Can you tell me what that intercept is? Just give everyone a second. I need to write this down. That he went. Okay. All right, who's got me?
What?
What is the x-intercept in n of x, Nicole?
The negative 3, 1, the y.
Oh, 4, 0. Very good. This is my x-intercept, and it is at 4, 0, and both of them only have 1. I'll even write that here too. What do you notice about group B, where the x-intercept is? Can anyone tell me for a prize? You got to raise your hand, though. Nicole.
It's got the maximum minimum.
What is that called?
The parabola.
Wait, what's that?
What is that point all the way at the bottom called? Your,
No.
which is your vertex. But I will give it to you because you were there.
Oh God.
Oh, it's gone.
I
Okay.
just guessed on
I
that
tried.
too.
It is your vertex, and that's huge to understand. Your vertex, it only is gonna if it's gonna have an x-intercept at the vertex, there's only gonna be 1. All right, let's talk about the next 2. Do these 2 graphs cross the x-axis?
No.
No, so they have none. There are no x-intercepts that we can
No
see.
intercepts at all.
There's none, so none. Okay, that we can see. But do you remember when we watched that video, if you were paying attention, what happened when that person pulled the graph? What kind of intercepts we're going to have?
Y.
We'll talk about it. We're getting there. I just wanted to see if anyone remembered. Okay. If they're not there, they're not there, they're not real, they're imaginary. Oh, how crazy how that ties in. Good job, Salem. All right. So let's recall this awesome formula that I'm sure all of you memorized way back when. Just kidding. Okay, the quadratic formula. Okay, you've seen it before, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone know the song to the quadratic formula?
No, what's wrong though?
Not the the quadratic formula. The pop goes the weasel. The pop goes the weasel. So if you are interested in ever remembering it, I can sing it to you. I'm the best singer on the planet. Okay. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. What's the song? What's the song?
ABC?
Pop goes the weasel. Yep. Okay. So if you ever want to learn it, it's a nice easy trick. It's how I remembered it in high school, was learning the pop goes the weasel. What'd you say? Oh, the ABCs. Nope, pop goes the weasel. Okay? Obviously, you won't have to memorize it, but if you ever wanted to, you now know it's a nice, easy tune. Okay? When you think of the discriminant, when you talk about the real world, if you're discriminated against or you are, discrimination in general, you're kind of off to the side. They kind of like single you out. It's just being like in your own world. We're going to take a piece of the quadratic formula and analyze it to help us see what kind of intercepts we're going to have. And that's why we call it the discriminant, because we're just taking a piece of, or we're singling out, kind of like discriminating. We're singling out the thing under the root. So if you have a highlighter, which all of you should because your bins are out already, I would highlight this right here.
Sorry, thank you.
No, you're fine. That's your discriminant right there. That's your discriminant. Okay, so you can even like draw an arrow if you want that's what the discriminant is. Okay. It's how many and what type you're going to have, what type of zeros. And the formula is right there. B squared minus 4ac, which we just highlighted. So we're discriminating, we're taking a piece of the quadratic formula and just kind of looking at it to see what kind of zeros we can have. So let's talk about it. All right, if the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0 or positive, whatever way works for you, sometimes you just like to think of positive and negative, you're going to have two real roots. And it's going to look something like that. Kind of like group A on the first page where it crossed the x-axis twice. If you do the discriminant for the middle part here in green, and it's less than 0 or negative, you're going to have two imaginary, and that's what that video was doing when we pulled the graph and it was in another dimension, okay? And it's going to look something like this where it does not cross the x-axis. So make sure you're drawing them correctly. Make sure that this one does not cross at all that x-axis. However, if it equals 0, if the discriminant equals 0, you're going to have just one real, and that's at that vertex point, what we talked about. Okay. So just kind of like a background, and that's going to go in there so that you have it in your interactive notebook, which I gave to you already. But that's just kind of the background. Have you guys done discriminants at all last year? Like a little bit, but you remember seeing it?
Just like poking at it.
Perfect. That's why, because they knew that you were coming to me. All right. Just kind of like a background knowledge here when we have our girl over here telling us. We hear all these things. We hear zeros, we hear roots, and we hear x-intercepts. We're all like, wow, it's a lot of terms. They all mean the same thing, but it just depends on what we're talking about. So your x-intercepts are your graphs. So if I'm like, hey, what are the x-intercepts? You're probably going to be looking at a graph. If I say, hey, what are your zeros? You're going to be looking at a function like f of x. If I say, hey, what are your roots? You're going to be solving of some sort. Again, I will never test you. I would never be like, hey, what does root mean? But it's good for you to know. If you hear me say root, I'm referring to you have to solve something. If I'm referring to x-intercepts, you're going to have to find it on the graph. If I'm referring to zeros, you have to do something with the function. Okay, just kind of a little bit of background, not very, very important, but overall, they all mean the same thing, where it crosses the x-axis on the graph, or your solutions. Okay, Now you're going to find this really, really easy. My last class did, so if you don't have a calculator, I'm going to tell you one more time to go grab one because I can make your life easier or it could be harder. If you want these ones. Okay. I have my computer back, so now I can show you a bunch of stuff on the calculator. All right. Before we get there, though, in standard form, this is what we're in right now. What is a in this function in standard form?
What?
What's your a value? Negative 3. Good. Careful with that. And that's why I like to write it out this way. It's only the number in front of the variable. It's never going to be a variable ever. Because otherwise your calculator is going to say it's wrong. What's your b? 2. And your c? Negative 1. That is crucial in these problems. If you do not put the negative in there, you're going to get a different answer and the whole problem's wrong. Okay, make sure that you really, really, if you want to even highlight or underline, the sign always goes with the number in back of it. So the negative goes with the 3, the positive goes with the 2, the negative goes with the 1. That's huge. Okay, here we go. We know our formula. It is b squared minus 4ac. That's given to you. It'll be given to you on the exam because it's going to be in your interactive notebook. Easy. Again, a is negative 3, so you have to plug it in. What was c? I'm just taking the values and I'm putting them where they belong. What was c? Negative 1. Please follow along and get out your calculator with me. Type this in. I'm going to type it. You're going to see it.
And the y equals?
No, just the normal second quit.
Hate this calculator.
It's okay. Here we go. Watch me. I'm doing it on the board now. I have it now. Okay? So, parentheses. You're following along. Parentheses. Negative 3. Parentheses. Close it. Come on. The negative is right here. Goodbye. Right here. Okay? I want you to learn the calculator, so it's okay. Take your time. Squared, which is right here. Squared. Got it?
Wait, it's not.
Hold on.
If it's stuck on the y thing, how do you get it back?
Second quit. Press this blue button and then the quit right here. Okay.
Did you do the 2 squared yet or no? You have to do 2 squared and then minus 4. Did you put negative 4?
Wait, hold on. I don't have my notes right next to me. Okay. It's 2 squared, not 3. Okay. Never mind. Clear. There's a clear button. Let's start over. Okay. I don't have my notes on me. I have parentheses, 2, close parentheses, squared, minus 4, parentheses. A was negative 3. Negative 3. B is negative 1. Make sure you're putting in negatives and not minus signs. If you put minus signs in, your calculator will say syntax error. What's that?
No.
I got negative 8.
Hold on. Press enter. What did you get? The negative is right here if you need it. It's okay. I want you to learn. It's okay if you're struggling right now. I want you to start getting used to it now because it's going to get harder in advance. Did you get...
Negative 48.
Okay.
You see,
Let's see where you got went wrong.
I mean, I've got like a double. I don't know why that was.
You put a times there.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's probably by accident.
Yep. Just type in exactly how you see it. Do you see on your notes? That's exactly how we had it. So it was negative 8. Here's the most important part. Look back at your chart that we just made. What does it mean if we have a negative discriminant? How many and what kind of zeros am I going to have?
imaginary.
2 imaginary. Good.
Can't wait to come home and sleep.
We got to learn this first.
Hang on, how did you get to imaginary?
I will show you. Make sure you're paying attention.
Oh.
Okay, so let's scroll up. Our discriminant was negative. Okay, so it's 2 imaginary. Because I cannot tell you how much it irks me when you ask me a question later and I just answered it and you weren't paying attention. That's why I get like that when you're, okay. It's negative, so it was 2 imaginary. Any other questions on that part? Let's do it again. 2 more, and then we're almost there. Okay?
Oh, I went somewhere.
We still got Beyonce on the back, but it's okay. All right. A is equal to negative 1/2. It is okay to work with fractions. You have to start getting used to it now. What is B? This is probably the most common error right now. I'm going to hear it. What's B?
1.
Okay, I didn't hear it for the first time. B is 1. It's not X. Some people will just tell me X. It's not a number. And then C is what? Negative 1/2. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, well, how the heck do I put a fraction in this calculator? It's just division. Thank you, because you were listening in the past. Or what is 1/2, really? 0.5. If you knew that. But I remember it is b squared minus 4ac. That's your formula. It's going to be given to you. It's your discriminant. Now let's start plugging things in. What was b? 1. Good. Look up here to see what we labeled. Once you label it, this thing is golden here. Minus 4. What's a? Negative 1/2. Careful. I'm telling you, those negative signs are going to kill you. What is your C value? Thank you. Negative 1/2. Now let's type it in. Here we go. So if you struggle with using this calculator, start working with me. You'll get better at it. Okay. Parentheses. As you see it, we're just literally reading it left to right. 1. Close parentheses. Squared. We're good there? Minus 4. Parentheses. Here's where a lot of people have questions. It's negative 1 divided by 2. Because watch, that becomes a fraction. Now
I
it's
guess 0.5.
0.5 is fine. But what if I was like 3/4 or 5/6? Just make sure you know how to, make sure that you know how to do it. And then parentheses, again, negative 1/2. Negative 1 divided by 2. I got 0, so if you did not get 0, let me know and I'll come and see what happened.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anyone else not get 0? Little silly errors. So something to just point out. This is a minus sign. This is a negative sign. They're different in calculators. So we got 0. So look up at your chart. If the discriminant is 0, Nancy, how many and what kind of roots am I going to have?
Imaginary.
How many imaginary?
1. I thought it was 1 real 0.
It's not imaginary.
Real.
It's
Not
1
sorry.
real. 1
I was
real.
reading that.
1 real.
Yes, I did.
Again, you have to ask yourself what that means. And I know it's math, I get it. But what does this mean? That means that this is not touching the x-axis. This one means that it's got a vertex wherever it is. Now, that's not exactly the graph. What?
Oh,
I was showing you like what visually this means and not just like, well, that's what it is. All right, we're going to do another one. What's A? 2. What's B?
Negative 5.
What is C?
Negative 6.
Good. Please take the time, the extra 10 seconds to write that out. Because a lot of you will put just the A on top and you'll forget the negative. Okay? All right, so again, my formula, the more you write it, the more it sticks in your head. Here's where it's crucial that you have parentheses. If you do not use them, you will get the wrong answer. That's why I keep putting them in. So, here we go. Parentheses. What was B?
5. Negative 5.
Negative 5 squared. So look at this. If you were to leave the parentheses out in your calculator, it will give you the wrong answer. Make sure you have those in. Minus 4 times what was A? It was just 2. And then C was negative 6. So go ahead and type that in. Give everyone 30 seconds to type in your calculator. And let me know what you get. We'll wait until everyone's done. Yeah, it's B squared minus 4AC. Yeah, that's the formula. Okay. I walked around in majority, found out that it is 73, and that's true. If you didn't, then we figured out where you went wrong. If you get 73, raise your hand for a prize. How many and what kind of roots are we going to have? Go ahead. 2 real. Very good. Flip to Beyonce, please.
Yes, girl.
Questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. You're just typing it in the calculator. If you want to mentally do it, I am like your #1 fan and I will support you. Okay? but I'm trying to make it easier on you to learn the technology that you may be able to use. The more you work with the calculator all year, the better you're going to get at it. So my suggestion to you is to try to grab the same calculator every day. This way you have the same one to work with every day and it's not changing on you. Because sometimes that calculator might be a little different than that one over there, okay? Like that 83 and the 84 are a little different. Not much, but it's a little bit. All right, Beyonce here. She's going to talk in for a little bit about this fundamental theorem of algebra. When you have that one root that looks like this, where the vertex, remember we only had one? This is going to be called a double root. So if you ever hear me reference like, hey, that's a double root, that's what I'm talking about. The double root, where the vertex is the x-intercept. Vertex is that x-intercept. The fundamental theorem of algebra says that for any polynomial, that's how many roots you should have. Okay? So, what do I mean by that? For example, x to the 5th power should have 5 roots. That's what that means. So, x squared should have how many roots? If x, 2. But look, we only have 1. Well, that's why we call it a double root, because really there is 2, but it's just the same one. Okay? Just a little bit of background, again, something you don't have to memorize, but good to know in the back of your head. All right, this is what you did for the bell ring, and I kind of wanted to take a second and make sure that you really understood this. When you are talking about the a value in any function, so that a value that's out in front, let's talk about the vertex form specifically. So write that out. This a value, is it negative or positive in this graph?
Negative.
Negative. Why?
It's going down.
Because it's going down. Good. Because it concaves down. That's awesome. That's it. And that's how the bell ringer was. You had to determine what A was. Now let's talk about the C value. Now, you can't see the C value in vertex form. But Nicole told me earlier that it was my y-intercept. So write that down. So you have that. These two are probably the most important ones for your exam. So make sure you understand these two. If you don't, let me know. Well, I'm going to draw my y-intercept right there. I found it. It's crossing the y-axis. Is this negative or positive? Negative. Good. Look at where it's on the graph. This is your 0, 0. It's right there. It's down. Okay. I'm not worried about h and k, so you can cross that out. Don't really care about them. However, for a prize, you have to raise your hand. If you don't, then no one gets it. So don't ruin it for everyone. Okay? Is my discriminant going to be positive, negative, or 0? You can look back at your chart. Go ahead, Salem.
0.
Not 0.
Negative.
Why is it negative?
Because it's below the x-axis.
It's below the x-axis and it's never...
Right. It's never going up. It's always going down.
Yes, I'll give you it to you. You keep going.
It's concaving down,
And,
reflecting.
yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. You have it right. You're right. So I'm going to give you something, but I'm seeing if anyone can...
Because it was negative, so A and C value.
Yes, but what's not happening?
It's not going past the axis.
It's not going across the x-axis. Look at Salem with the save. I got you both. Okay. So, yes, this is not crossing the x-axis. It's not. Okay. That's why it's negative. The discriminant is negative. It wasn't asking if it was concaving up or down. I was asking what the discriminant was. If you go back to that chart on that one page that we just talked about, it says that if it's not crossing, it's negative. Okay, let's keep going really quick. We're running a little bit behind the other classes. Let's talk about this one. We are in vertex form. For a prize, raise your hand. What is my vertex if I'm in vertex form? I already got you. Anyone that didn't get a prize? Does anyone know the vertex if I'm in vertex form, or you can find it in your inactive notebook? This is vertex form. From this, you can tell me what the vertex is.
0, -4.
Negative 4 is right.
Oh, can I go in infinity?
But you're looking at just the point of the vertex. So like this is the vertex. One of these numbers is your x value. Which one? No.
I'm just guessing now.
It's 3. Okay. Here's why. This is your vertex formula, right?
Mhm.
And that HK is your vertex. So write that down. HK is your vertex. And look, 3 is that H value and -4 is there. Okay, I'll give it to you. So let's graph it. 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is.
Is that all we do?
One more little thing.
All these graphs are-
What else do we know about this graph? It's going what?
Down.
Down. There you go. So, here we go. This is what we learned today. What kind of zeros am I going to have and how many of them? So it's always going to be real or imaginary and how many?
Yeah, 3 of them, right? Hang on, no.
Imaginary 2.
Good. There are 2 imaginaries. Salem, you are a smarty pants today. Look, it's never crossing. Ever. Okay? Let's try it again. Look, it's the same exact problem, yes?
Mhm.
So my vertex is still 3, 4. So let's graph that again. Sorry, -4. 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4. But now this time it's going which way, up or down? Up. So raise your hand and tell me for a prize, what kind and how many roots are there? 2 what?
Real.
2 real. Good. All right, get out those scissors and start cutting around the box. We're going to glue that in your interactive notebook so that you have it.
Did I miss any from yesterday?
You missed, we finished the 4.1 to 4.6 review that you started on Friday.
Wait, we're cutting out our notes, or we're cutting?
No, you're